Okay, so thanks everyone for coming. We're going to talk about ancient Rome. We're moving on to module 5 where we discuss Rome. Now, we're talking specifically today about the Republic part of Rome. So Rome is easy to kind of split the history up into two different parts, the time when they were a republic and then the time when they become an empire. So if you are fans of Star Wars, it kind of sounds like that a little bit. But they start off as a republic and they move into an empire. So we're going to focus just on that first part today, specifically kind of the origins of Rome, the beginnings of the culture. And then we're going to talk about the actual republic and how it was set up and organized. And then we're also going to talk about some of the beginning cultures of Rome. So let's go ahead and get started. As always, during the live lessons, please make sure that we are staying focused. Make sure that we participate when asked. Use the chat for lesson purposes only. Be respectful to one another. Do not leave the session early unless you absolutely have to, and make sure you follow the Microsoft Team rules, which in this case is just turn off your camera and microphone. If you wish to speak, click the raise hand button. Once I call your name, go ahead and unmute yourself to speak, and then when you're done, you can remute and lower your hand. And most importantly, make sure we learn lots, right? It's important that we learn while we're here. So just take a look at our scale. We're really looking at being able to explain how Rome rose to power, compare the Roman Republic to the current US government, explain why trade was important to the Roman Republic, and tell the factors that led to the Republic to become an empire. So right now, looking at that, a lot of you may be at a 1 or a 2. If you've done all the readings, maybe you're at a 3. But hopefully by the end of today's session, the 10 of you or so will be up to at least a 3. So before the break, we ended talking about ancient Greece, which you can see. I know the quality of map isn't so great, but you'll see it there in purple, right? Those are the territory of ancient Greece. Well, now we're just going to move slightly to the west, and we're going to talk about ancient Rome. And ancient Rome starts off just with that little area there in red, and we're going to see that it expands to encompass pretty much everything you see on this map, and then even beyond. Let's see. Sophia, do you have a question?
I can't see the slide.
Come on, is that your issue too? Okay. If anyone else is having that problem, raise your hand right now so I can see. Okay. So I would suggest then maybe I don't know. If you're having some issues, maybe you sign out and then sign back in, and then maybe that'll clear up the problem. Kamani, do you have a question?
I can see anything.
Okay, so go ahead and sign out and then sign back in, and hopefully that'll help the problem. Okay, so hopefully that fixed the problem for some of you. But we're going to talk about the origins of Rome. And then in this case, Rome, there's kind of a legend surrounding the origins of it. And it's a myth that talks about how there was a shepherd who came across twin boys who were being raised by a wolf. And the twin boys were named Romulus and Remus. And the twins eventually founded the city, and Romulus kills Remus and names this city Rome after himself. So the city of Rome is really unique in its geography. So you're going to see that the city was actually founded in a very strategic location. So it was built on a series of 7 hills. And you can see in that map there, those little brown hills, right? So being in those hills was really great in that it provided protection, right? It's always better to have the higher ground. The hills were located on the banks of a river, the Tiber River, not to be confused with the Tigris River from Mesopotamia, but the Tiber River ran near these mountains, and the Tiber River would flood and it would have silt enrich the farmland. So it created hills for protection and the river for drinking water, which provided great farmland for growing food. So an ideal location for this city that would eventually become Rome. The city was not directly on the ocean, right? It was actually several miles from the ocean, which was good in the sense that it helped in protection. So unlike the Athenians that was right on the ocean, a navy could easily attack Athens. But in this case, they're set back from the ocean quite a bit, so that added another level of protection for the Romans. So the earliest Romans were shepherds and farmers, and they settled in the area of what is now Italy, known as Latium, which is why the language the Romans speak is called Latin. They traded with others who lived north on the Tiber River, and these people were called the Etruscans. The Etruscans had rich soil and lots of resources. They grew in wealth and ended up attacking and taking over the Latins in Rome. The city of Rome thrived when it was under the Etruscan rule, and they built a large forum for trading and conducting business. They moved the capital to the city of Rome as well. So just like the Greeks had the agora, right, the big open area where there was business and merchants and shops, the Romans had that too, and they called it a forum. So eventually the Romans become powerful and powerful enough to kind of push the Etruscans out of Latinum where they initially came in and settled. So shortly after that, though, warriors from Gaul, which is modern-day France, attacked the north and burned Rome, and really Rome is destroyed. So quickly Rome rebuilds, and not just the city, but they rebuild all of its territory too. So Etruria and Latinum are both rebuilt, and it's under Roman control. The Romans set up a new form of government called a republic, which is like a democracy, but instead of every individual voting, instead they vote on representatives to go make decisions for them. That's exactly what we do in the United States, right? I go vote for someone who then in return goes and votes on my behalf over in Washington, D.C. Rome grew strong under the republic. So within 100 years of forming the republic, Rome controls basically all of the Italian peninsula. Several factors help Rome grow. The big one is that when they conquered their enemies, they later turned them into friends by giving them citizenship and power in this Roman Republic. Also, all the years of conflict had turned Rome into kind of a powerful military state. So the Romans' ability to organize and fight helped them become the dominant power in the Italian peninsula. So you'll see, guys, where Rome is in the red area of the map. You see the peninsula that looks like a boot, right? That's Italy. And that's really where Rome kind of starts, where Rome is located and where the empire really grows out of. So the first Punic War is the thing that really kind of asserts Rome as a real power. Rome stood out, right, in the Mediterranean, but it had a rival, and the rival was Carthage. And that's kind of on the north coast of Africa, in the south of the Mediterranean Sea. They're really just as strong as Rome is. Rome kind of desired to control the island of Sicily, which you'll see is that island that's kind of at the toe of, see how it really looks like a boot? And then right where the toe is, there's that island. That's Sicily, and that's really the area that Rome hoped to control. Carthage was a little stronger at sea while the Romans were stronger on land. So much of the first Punic War, Rome spends to try to kind of up their navy, get their navy better and stronger. And it worked. And Rome actually ends up defeating Carthage and took the island of Sicily as a trophy. So now, not only does Rome control the peninsula of Italy, but they control some of those Mediterranean islands as well. So then the second Punic War happens, which once again, it's between Carthage and in Rome. This time, a general from Carthage named Hannibal decides he's going to have a surprise invasion of the Italian peninsula. And he and his army, which included over 30 elephants, and that's unusual because elephants are not native to Europe. So they start in Spain and they march over around the Mediterranean coast, over the Pyrenees and Alps, right, two pretty intense mountain ranges, and they go into northern Italy. Hannibal nearly captures Rome. A lot of it's from that element of surprise and people not really knowing how to attack elephants. But eventually the Romans were able to drive him out. And when Hannibal is driven out, he actually is greatly weakened, and Carthage is no longer the power that it was before the Punic Wars. And so once again, Rome wins the second Punic War, just like they they won the first one. And then finally, we have the third and final Punic War. And this one, the Roman leaders really are just afraid that Carthage someday is going to bounce back and be strong again and rise up again. So they set sail to Carthage, and after a 3-year-long siege, they really capture the city and completely destroy it. And the Third Punic War is over, and Rome again defeats Carthage. So Carthage is no longer a power, and now we have Rome, whose power is kind of unmatched to anyone else in the region. So Rome is now the dominant power of the Mediterranean, but it doesn't stop there. They had a desire to literally conquer most of the known world. And now, thanks to these 3 wars, they had a strong army and a strong navy that they could do just that. The Romans conquered all of ancient Greece to the east, and they basically took that practice of kind of making this people they captured citizens and threw it right out the window. So now the people that they capture, they destroy their lands, and they actually take a bunch of them as slaves. Roman farmers also suffered. Hannibal destroys lots of farmland, and those farmers moved into the cities where rich landowners took over by building these kind of large farming estates. And these farming estates were ruled by slaves. So this system, what it does is it keeps poor people in Rome poor, and then keeps the rich wealthy, which causes some trouble in the Republic of Rome. Rome's ever-growing territory becomes difficult to kind of control. So if we look at that top map in the green, you'll see that's the area that is known as Rome at the time. And in the bottom map, the red area is Rome after the Punic Wars. So you can see just how big and quickly their territories grew from one to the other. All right, so let's, like I said, it's kind of a small group today, so I'm going to really require you guys to raise your hands and answer these questions for me. So, which of the following is not true about the city of Rome's origins? Legend tells a story of twin brothers raised by a wolf. The city settled in a region of 7 hills. The city was settled on a large ocean with a large ocean seaport, and the city was located on the banks of the Tiber River. Which one is not true? Okay, Darnell, what do you think?
I think it is B. The city was settled on a region of 7 hills. Okay,
great. I love that you answered, but that's actually not the correct answer because that is true. They were settled on a city of 7 hills. So let's see. Gianna, you had your hand up. Did you have another answer? All right. Aramis, what do you think?
I think the answer is C. The city was settled on an ocean with a large seaport.
Good, because that one's not correct. Good. So the other 3 are correct. That one's not. All right, great job. Which statement is true about the relationship between Etruria and Latium? So the Etruscans and the Latins. Which statement is true? Etruria in the north and the Romans in Latium fought each other several times. The Etruscans were great sailors and the Latins were not. Greeks trusted the settlers of Latium more than the settlers of Etruria, and the Latins were farmers and the Etruscans were merchants. Which one of these is actually true? Sanaya, what do you think? I'm sorry, say that again. I think you cut out.
D.
So the correct answer to this one is actually A. So they actually fought each other a bunch of times. Okay, sometimes the Etruscans win and sometimes the Latins win. It kind of goes back and forth. So the First Punic War was fought over control of which area? Aramis, what do you think?
A, Sicily.
Good, I agree. Sicily is correct. What was a major event of the Third Punic War? The Roman gained Sicily as its first province. Romans capture and defeat of Carthage. Hannibal leads the invasion of Italy. Roman armies take control of all of Spain. Gianna, what do you think? Hello, you there? All right, Nicholas. Oh, wait.
Hello?
What did you say?
I think it's B.
B. Capturing. Good job. Nicholas, I'll get to you next time. Okay, so what was the long-term impact of the Punic Wars? They allowed Spain and Gaul to gain their independence. It forced Carthage to become an ally of Rome. It made Rome the dominant power in the Mediterranean, and it brought lasting peace to the Mediterranean world. Nicholas, what do you think?
C.
C, good, I agree. Rome becomes the dominant power in the region, unchallenged. All right, all of the following effects occurred as a result of the Roman expansion of the Punic Wars, except which one? So all of these happened as a result of the war, except which one? It brought in great wealth from conquered territories. It allowed many Romans to buy large farming estates. It provided a slave labor for large farming estates, and it caused the Roman economy to decline due to the high cost of the war. Sanaya, what do we think?
C.
So
C.
that actually is true. So that's not the one that we're looking for. The one that we're looking for this particular one is actually going to be D. Okay, so it does not really cause the Roman economy to decline. Okay, so now we're going to look at the actual Roman Republic. So how is it structured? How is it organized? And you're going to see first, what is a republic? Okay, and like the ancient Athenians, the people of Rome wanted to make sure that no one man controlled the government. They laid out a new system of government called a republic. It was different because citizens did not directly vote on all the issues. Instead, they chose a group of people who voted on the decisions for them. This is known as representative democracy. The Romans also set up a separation of powers, just like we have in the United States today. One person or one office could not have too much control. So the details of the Republic. So different social classes were responsible for different parts of the Republic. The patricians, which were the highest class of people in the Roman Republic, they selected the Senate and the councils. The plebeians were made up of most Romans, right? They were freemen who were not noble, so they were just kind of the everyday citizens that weren't super rich, okay? And they selected the assembly. There were three different parts of the government: the Senate and the assemblies, the councils, and the judges. The Romans created a series of checks and balances. This made sure that one part wouldn't get too powerful, right? It made sure that the councils wouldn't get more powerful than the Senate, or the judges wouldn't get more powerful than the council, right? It kept them all at the same level of power. And the United States has that same system today. So let's take a look at this chart and look at the different aspects. So the executive, kind of the person in charge in Rome, those are councils, and there was two of them. They were elected by the assembly, right, for 1 year at a time. In the United States, we have a president, right, and they're elected for 4 years, and they're elected by the people directly. So both of them in Rome and in the United States, the executive is kind of the person in charge of the army. The legislature or legislative branch in Rome was kind of a Senate that was made up of 300 people that were chosen by the wealthy. And then they had an assembly that was kind of made up of kind of the everyday citizens, okay? In the United States, we have the Senate also, but ours only has 100 members. And then we also have the House of Representatives, which is 435 members, okay? There's a judicial branch in Rome, right? The courts. Those are praetors, judges, magistrates, some of them. And they are chosen by the assembly. In the United States, we have a Supreme Court that's appointed by the president and approved by the Senate. In the legal code, they have the 12 tables, which is a list of rules that kind of ran the legal system, right? Kind of told you what the crime was and what the punishment would be. We have the United States Constitution, which is our kind of written form of government and written laws. We have citizenship in Rome is just kind of all adult male landowners, but in the United States, you're just native born or you're naturalized, right? I mean, you take the test or fulfill the requirements to become a citizen. Okay, so it's very similar, but some distinct differences between the two. So hold on, we're losing our connection here. I don't know. Okay, as Rome made more advances militarily and conquered more regions, it became difficult for them to kind of keep their republic together. So the bigger the country got, the more difficult it becomes to govern. There was also a larger gap forming between the poor and the rich, and a lot of poor people were losing their farms, which was causing some unrest. Four individuals aided Rome in moving away from a republic to becoming more of an empire. So there's four people that kind of become powerful within the republic, which makes it kind of a step closer from them losing their democracy and becoming more of a dictatorship. So the first two people is Tiberius Gracchus and Gaius Marcus. So Tiberius, he was a member of the Senate, and he didn't like the fact that farms were being worked by slaves instead of Roman citizens. And he didn't like that soldiers and sailors were returning home from war with their farms being taken away, and they were homeless and broke. So what he decides is he kind of champions and makes a name for himself and stands out because he wants Rome to set aside land for soldiers and the homeless. But other senators thought that this meant their power would be threatened, and so they end up just killing him. Okay, but he kind of is the first member of the Senate to kind of call out to the everyday people and to get support. So power moves kind of away from the group of the senators to this one man, but he's killed. Gaius Marius, he is a successful military leader who argued that returning soldiers should be given land and citizenship. Many senators did not like this, and they exiled him to Africa. He later returns and essentially took over Rome as a consul for 7 years. So usually their consuls or their presidents only serve 1 year, but he actually took it over and kept power for 7 years. So that's another step in which they moved away from a republic more towards a dictatorship. So his attack on Rome was really kind of bloody, and it really weakened the republic, and it weakened people's faith in the republic, meaning people thought maybe this isn't the best way to govern. So Sulla is the next person, and he worked his way up through the military ranks and ended up gaining control of the city of Rome. He increased the Senate's power in the government. So he kind of takes away the notion of republic by giving the Senate all the power. When he's called away to war, his rival, the guy we just talked about, captures Rome and runs it for 7 years. When he returns to Rome, he captures the city and kills all of his rivals, and then he steps down from power. So Rome under his control gives less power to the assembly and weakens the republic as a whole. So the next guy is the most famous person in all of ancient Rome, and that is going to be Julius Caesar. Now, Caesar, he was a career politician, right? His job was a politician who had acquired many enemies throughout his time in the Senate. And he felt his life and power threatened, so he ends up seizing Rome and took power for himself. And at this time, there had been so many kind of wars with all these other senators fighting it out and bloodshed, that a lot of people kind of liked Julius Caesar because they thought that his power would kind of lead to stability in the country. So, but unlike Sulla, he had no ambition of stepping down, and he actually adopted his nephew, Octavia, to be his successor. Members of the Senate joined together and assassinated Julius Caesar, but his nephew took over to rule in his place, and he would rule for the next 40 years. The Republic had been ruled by elected consuls in the Senate. Caesar replaced them with an empire that could be inherited by members of his family. So Julius Caesar is technically the one who kind of ends the Republic and brings it into an empire. So his nephew Octavian changes his name to Augustus Caesar when he becomes the first emperor of Rome. And many different generals try to take control for a long time, but they end up kind of tearing Rome apart while they're fighting amongst each other. But Octavia really remains in power the whole time. And the Senate actually ends up giving Octavia extraordinary powers. In fact, the Senate grants him constitutional right of absolute power for his entire life. Okay, so they actually appoint him a dictator. And he becomes Rome's first emperor. The vast majority of people in Rome believed that Augusta was their savior and that he offered peace and stability, and that he fought for the good of the country. His 41-year reign is known as the Pax Romana, which means Rome's golden age, their golden period. All right, let's see how we do this time. Remember, raise your hands and I'll go ahead and call on you. The Roman Senate and assemblies are similar to what in the United States? The Congress, the Council, the 12 tables, or the presidential veto. What is it similar to? Darnell, what do you think?
Hello?
Yes.
I think it is B, the council.
Okay, so that's closer to the president. Evan, what do you think?
The Congress.
Good, I would agree. It's similar to the Congress. Good job. The U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights is like what aspect of the Roman Republic? Evan, go ahead and turn off your microphone or your camera for me. Let's see. Nicholas, go ahead.
The 12 tables.
Good, the 12 tables. Good, that's their written code of laws. The Roman Council and the US president both have what power? So it's not mentioned specifically. So if you don't quite get this one, I'm not going to be, it's in your readings, but I don't mention it in the slides. So which one, they both have what power? David, what do you think? Okay, so he actually just texted me. I don't know if his microphone's not working, but he says B and he's correct. So thank you for that. All right. How did the actions of Tiberius Gracchus change the Roman Republic? He angered the Senate by opposing that Rome divide public lands among returning military and their families. He replaced an elected council and Senate with an empire that could be inherited by members of the ruler's family. He angered the Senate by convincing men to serve in wars by promising them land and citizenship. He restructured the city's politics and strengthened the Senate's power. Aramis, what do you think?
I think the answer is C.
Well, the answer for this one is actually A. He angered the Senate by proposing that Rome divide public lands among the returning military and their families. Julius Caesar helped turn the Roman Republic into a Roman Empire. I'm sorry, how? How did he turn it into a Roman Empire? He angered the Senate by proposing that Rome divide the public lands. He replaced the elected councils in the Senate with an empire inherited by members of the ruling family. He angered the Senate by convincing them to serve in wars, promising them land and citizenship. He restricted the city's politics and strengthened the Senate's power. How was he able to do that? Nicholas, what do we think?
I didn't turn off the raise hand, sorry.
Sanaya, what do you think?
D.
Okay, so the answer is B. He replaced elected officials in Senate with kind of people from his own family. All right, so now we're going to move to the last section that we're going to talk about today, and that's the culture of Rome, especially the early days. Okay, so the culture of Rome when it was a republic. So there's really four social classes in Rome. So the city of Rome was the largest city of its time. More than 1 million people lived in Rome, and that was huge. I think it's almost 1,000 years, maybe even more, until another city reaches a population of 1,000 people, and that's London. But there was a clear line between the rich and the poor, and the powerful and the weak in the Republic. And the Roman Republic had a very strict social structure. So you can see there the patricians are at the top, then the plebeians, and then the freedmen, and then the slaves. So the next slide, we're going to actually talk about those differences there. So the patricians, they were kind of the full citizens. They were often rich most of the time, but not always technically. But usually they were very wealthy. They held high government positions, and they owned large farms or they were worked. It was just large farms that were worked by members of the other social classes or lower classes. Underneath them were the plebeians. They were also citizens. The patricians and the plebeians were both citizens, but the plebeians were kind of the farmers, traders, and they used their hands to make and sell goods. They're not the wealthy ones. They were made up of the largest number of Roman citizens. More people fell in this class than in the patricians. Early on, they did not have much political power, but later in the Republic era, they had kind of expanded their power and could even hold some government positions. Below them are the freedmen, and they were former slaves, and they got their freedom by paying for it, by getting freed upon their master's death or by fulfilling their terms of service. Sometimes slaves would have a certain amount of time. It's you have to work for 10 years. When that time's up, you're free. They were not citizens, but if they had children, those children could be citizens. And then finally, at the bottom of the pyramid, we have slaves. And most slaves in ancient Rome were prisoners of war. Some were sold into slavery as children by their parents. Slaves worked on farms and mines, and the efforts of slaves brought great wealth to the Roman Republic, and gladiators also were usually slaves. So Roman families. Women had very little power in ancient Rome. Either their husbands or farmers would make their decision. Either their husbands or fathers would make their decisions for them. They could not serve in the government. Early in the Republic, children were educated by their parents, but as time went on, that changed. Wealthy children were educated. Boys went to school and were taught and educated by Greek slaves in a variety of subjects. Girls were tutored at home and were taught domestic skills. Poor children, though, didn't really go to school. They kind of learned just whatever work they needed to do in their fields. That's what they were taught. And we have conflict between some of these classes. So the patricians and the plebeians often struggled for power throughout the history of the Roman Republic. Patricians held higher offices like judges or magistrates, senators, and generals, making it easier for them to keep control of the power that they had. The people that they were fighting amongst themselves as the people were fighting amongst themselves as Rome was fighting others and expanding their territory. When plebeian soldiers refused to fight in the Roman army, they finally were given better treatment under the law. So the army is mostly made up of these kind of plebeian soldiers. And one day they said, you know what, unless you give us more rights in the government, we're not going to fight your foreign wars anymore. And that actually seemed to work. So this slide, if it's in that kind of orange reddish color, then that's going to mean that it's the years that it was a republic. And if it's in the purple color, that's going to kind of talk about the years that it was more of an empire. So this is kind of the growth of the territory of Rome throughout this 600-year period. So the people they conquered governed themselves for the most part in Rome. However, they had to pay taxes and supply soldiers to Rome. The increased number of soldiers gave Rome the resources it needed to aggressively conquer more territory. After the Punic War, Rome controlled the Mediterranean islands, North Africa, and parts of Spain. Shortly after the war, they conquered Greece and parts of Gaul or France. Once Rome becomes an empire, they take over most of Asia Minor, Egypt, France, and even what is now England on the island of Britain. So you can just see how much their territory really grows, becomes huge. It really becomes not that different than the territory of the United States today. So Rome's religion. So for the new Roman subjects came from many different ethnic groups. So as the territory of Rome expanded, right, they took on more people from different backgrounds and different regions. And those people had a variety of belief systems. So the Romans, their gods were initially based on the Greek gods. So a lot of them are basically the exact same gods, but just they changed their name, right? So Ares becomes Mars, Hera is Juno, Zeus is Jupiter, okay? But the Romans did not kind of make their conquered subjects practice one religion. So if Rome conquered you, you could kind of still practice whatever religion you wanted. But what ended up happening is that Rome ends up kind of absorbing some of the new beliefs some of the people they conquered. So Phoenician, Egyptians, and Persian gods kind of also enter into Roman religion as the Romans conquered those lands. Okay, so it starts off as very similar to Greek's religion with just different names, and then it kind of expands and grows as Rome's territory grows. So the Silk Road is a very long overland trail or road that connects ancient Rome and Greece all the way to China. So with Rome's newly expanded territory, they could trade with new parts of the world and get new goods that they previously did not have. They even traded with places far away like India and China through the Silk Road. The Silk Road was 4,000 miles long, and it kind of linked China and the Mediterranean Sea. Patricians who were not involved in the government organized and took part along this road. Wealthy Romans traded spices like cinnamon and gems like pearls and rubies and emeralds, as well as perfumes, silk, ivory, and tortoise shells. Slaves often were the ones who physically traveled along the large distances so that they could buy these goods or get these goods. The negotiators were the patrician bankers, and they would loan money to traders that could buy these things in large quantities. And the mercantores, they kind of would go ahead and buy those goods and then sell them in these smaller individual shops. So every Roman town had at least one market in its forum. Some of these markets offered special types of goods. Others specialized in things like meat, spices, livestock, or slaves. Okay, so a lot of the things, so the rich people would basically give these people money, and that they, along with slaves, would walk all the way over to China, get some of these interesting things, right? Silks, rubies, emeralds, pearls, and they would go back home with these and then sell them in their little shops. So the end of the Republic. The Roman Republic faced nearly constant war and invasion for more than 500 years. A senator, once again, by the name of Julius Caesar, becomes powerful and challenges the power of the senators. Julius Caesar had many enemies. His power grew, and the Roman Republic's civil war raged on. He was later given the title of dictator in perpetuity. In other words, he was the ruler for life. A group of senators got together and assassinated Caesar, but it did not do any good since his nephew then took control, and the Republic was officially turned into an empire. All right. Almost done, guys. So let's fill in these blanks. A member of the highest class in Rome was called a what? Snaya, do you know? What do we call the highest? Okay, Aramis, go ahead. What do you think?
I think it's a patrician.
Good. And then a person of a lower class, but who could still own land, was called a what? Darnell.
Hello?
Yes.
A plebeian?
Good. And then a person who was bought and sold as property and had no legal rights in Rome was called what? Someone who's bought and sold. David, what do you think? And he texted me again, was slave. Good. A former slave was called a what? Nicholas, what do you think?
Freedman?
Good. The most important judge in a particular district of Rome was called a what? David, what do you think? All right, Gianna, what do you think?
A dictator.
Okay, that's a good guess, but it's actually a magistrate. The patrician traders who bought goods in bulk and then sold them to the shopkeepers were called what? Darnell, what do you think?
A negro. I don't know how to say it.
The negotiators.
Okay.
like negotiators, I guess. The plebeians and freemen who ran the shops in the Roman markets were called what? The people who ran the shops. Gianna, what do you think? Oh, you went away. That's okay. Let's see. Darnell, what do you think?
I think it would be a mercators.
Good. So the root word comes from like merchant, right? To buy and sell. So good. In ancient Rome, a person giving sole ruling power was called a what? If you were the sole ruler of an area. Nicholas, what do you think?
Julius Caesar?
Okay, so he's an example of one of these. So he would be the example of this, but what's the actual Sanaya? What do you think?
A dictator.
Good, I would agree. And then to kill someone for political reasons is to what? Evan, go ahead.
Assassinate.
Good, assassinate. And then, so this one, it's mentioned in your readings, but it's not mentioned in this PowerPoint. So you can probably figure it out by process of elimination. But where it says a Roman senator who orchestrated the assassination of Rome's new leader was who? Evan, you know this one too? All right, let's see. Aramis, what do you think?
Is it Julius Caesar?
Nope. So this question is really saying who's the person who killed Julius Caesar? Let's see. David, what do we think? Marcus Brutus. Good job. He texted it again. All right. A 4,000-mile long trail connecting Rome to China was called the. Come on, what do you think?
Silk Road.
Good job. Perfect. And then obviously the last one then is the senator who moved Rome from a republic to an empire was named. Let's see. Who can we do here? Darnell, go ahead.
Julius Caesar.
Ooh, good job. There we go. All right, couple questions, then we're done. Which was not a region that was conquered by the ancient Romans? Greece, India, Egypt, England. So 3 of these Rome conquers, 1 of them they do not. Let's see. Nicholas, what do we think?
England?
England, they actually do end up conquering, believe it or not, as far away as England. Let's see. Evan, what do we think?
India.
India. I would agree. Good job. See that whole territory there in red is all controlled by Rome, including England up to the north there on the island. Which statement is true of Roman religion? They were monotheistic or believed that in just one God who often sought revenge on humans. They disavowed the practice of religion and punished anyone who believed in any type of God. They believed in worshiping the land and animals, and they thought that nature was the highest power on earth. Much of the religion was based on the religion of the Greeks, but beliefs changed as their territories grew. Nicholas, what do we think?
D.
I agree. Good job. Then finally here we have what was one of the items sold, I should say which pair of items would have been sold from the Far East in a Roman forum or marketplace? Would it be fish and chicken, wool and bread, silk and cinnamon, literature and pork? Evan, what do we think?
C.
C, silk and cinnamon. Good job. Okay, so before I let you guys go, I just want to talk to you quickly about your assignment, your 5.03, and that's, even though texting didn't exist back then, obviously, the assignment asks you to kind of come up with a conversation between a patrician and a plebeian, or even a slave, I think it is. Let's see. So it's going to be upper class and a lower class, okay? And what you're going to want to do is kind of take those and make a 10 not word, a 10-sentence conversation, but each one has to be 2 sentences. So you're going to want to make sure that you do those 5 things. So you want to make sure you have a total of 10 text messages with 2 sentences at least for each. You want to make sure that you describe the daily life of the upper and lower class of its citizens, describe the opportunities that the children had in general in Rome, and compare how it's differed for male and female children. The best way to do that is to have one person be a boy and one person be a girl, and explain the effect of the social status on the future of Rome's republic. Okay, so it's pretty simple. The kids that are doing it are doing a great job. Just make sure that you in total have 10 different speech bubbles. If you can't get the template to download or work, then you can do it just on a blank paper. That's fine as well. Okay. If you are taking it for advanced credit and you have any questions about this assignment, just reach out to me. I'll kind of keep everyone's time in mind and not go over this unless you need it from me. You can just send me a quick text. Okay. Hopefully now you guys are at least on the 3 for this one. Hopefully you're at least able to explain Rome's kind of rise to power, how the Republic compares to the US government, and how trade is important. Guys, when you do your DBA with me, I am going to ask you about how the Rome's Republic compares to our Republic in the United States. So make sure that you're able to answer that question for me. Okay? And then I'll stick around if anybody has any questions. If not, you guys are free to go. Thank you so much for coming. Darnell, do you have a question or you just forget to put your hand up? Or put your hand down?